So, today at Westminster, we've had a right old stooge, as they say in Scotland, or possibly even a rammy, and certainly a kerfuffle over the resignation of the very senior civil servant, Sue Gray, so she could go to run the office of the Leader of the Opposition, Keir Starmer, which would greatly help Labour. Oh, come on, Andrew, you might say. Why should I be interested? How does this affect me? Isn't this a classic inside-the-bubble Westminster story that doesn't move the price of fish? Let me try to persuade you otherwise. First, this is about ethics. What's right, what's wrong, and we're all interested in that, aren't we? Second, it's about raw power and the possibility of Boris Johnson, for instance, resurrecting his career. First, ethics. Because she has been so long at the heart of power, Sue Gray knows almost everything. All the hidden scandals, the feuds, where all the bodies from the last Conservative years are buried, which cupboards have which skeletons in them. So you can see why Tories are worried about her going straight to the opposition, even if she keeps her lips tightly zipped. They also want to know how long she's been quietly talking to the Labour leader. Speaking to my colleague Nick Ferrari this morning, Keir Starmer didn't exactly give a clear response.
But just unsure why you won't tell me when you first made contact with her.
I'm not going to go through lock, stock and barrel, but there's nothing improper. It's not unusual.
But if it's not improper, I'm sorry to interrupt. If it's not improper, why won't you say, it was a month ago, Nick, or it was 6 weeks ago, Nick, or it was on New Year's Day?
It was. I've been looking for some time, and there's nothing improper in the slightest.
But there's much, much more to this story than who knew what when. Sue Gray was asked by the Boris Johnson government to look into the allegations about those Downing Street lockdown parties, and when her report wasn't instantly lethal for the former Prime Minister, Johnson supporters rather hailed her. But now they're accusing her of being a Labour stooge all along, so discrediting her investigation into him and, in Boris Johnson's wildest dreams, getting him off the hook completely. Now, I don't think that's right. I think the Privileges Committee of MPs, inquiring into the truth of those parties, will carry on with their patient, public, evidence-based work. And if their report finds him guilty of deliberately misleading the Commons and he's suspended on their advice for 10 days or more, voters in his Uxbridge seat can trigger a by-election. And I think Johnson's political career would probably then be over. But to do this, a motion has to be laid before the Commons by the government. Now, suppose Johnson and his supporters were able to persuade the Prime Minister that Sue Gray's defection to Labour so muddies the waters that he hasn't had a fair trial. The government could, in theory, decide that the motion be not put or laid on the table. In other words, nothing actually happens. Or that the punishment should be for, say, 9 days, not 10 suspension, in which case there wouldn't have to be a by-election. And then Boris Johnson's future would be in Rishi Sunak's hands, a ticklish and interesting moment for both men. Yes, in the end, this is about raw power. And in that spirit, responding for the opposition, the Deputy Labour leader, Angela Rayner, turned it into a straightforward competition between the parties about sleaze.
Why a senior civil servant famed for their integrity and dedication to public service decided to join the party with a real plan for Britain, rather than, Mr. Speaker, a tired out, washed up, sleaze-addicted Tory government. This is the exceptional circumstances that the Minister spoke about. A party so self-obsessed that they are using parliamentary time to indulge in the conspiracy theories of the former Prime Minister and his gang.
So I think we can agree that her view is clear enough. But this afternoon, there was one final and rather extraordinary twist. Jeremy Quinn, the Paymaster General, revealed in the chamber that Sue Gray was meant to have had prior permission from the Prime Minister before announcing she was off.
The rules state that approval must be obtained prior to a job offer being announced. The Cabinet Office has not, as yet, been informed that the relevant notification to ACOBA has been made.
Gasps in the chamber, because that in turn leads to the possibility, I suppose, that Rishi Sunak could simply block Sue Gray's change of job for 3 months or 2 years or longer and swipe back the Chief of Staff his main opponent, Keir Starmer, so very much wants and thought that he'd just appointed. Up to now, the two party leaders in private have got on pretty well, but this would really poison things.